Hi, Dave Klappenberger with Klappenberger & Son, and today we're going to talk about 4 don'ts and 4 do's that you need to know if you're going to paint kitchen cabinets. They're just common mistakes that I've seen made over time, and I don't want you to make those mistakes. If you're going to invest the time and energy and money to paint your kitchen cabinets, you want it to last, don't you? And if you screw up any of these processes, there's really not a good fix. So let's not make these mistakes. Let's go ahead and get started. Mistake number 1 that I see people make is that they don't clean the cabinets enough. There is a lot of oils and grease and grime on those kitchen cabinets, and we need to get them all off 100%, not a quick wipe but a thorough cleaning. Make sure you use a good degreaser like Spray 9 or Murphy's oil soap, something that has a degreaser in it, and go the extra mile and make sure that they are clean before you sand. Please do not sand and then clean. Please clean and then sand. You'll get the assumption that after you sand it, I got most of the grease off and I should be good. You didn't. You probably worked some of that grease into the cabinet itself. So, number 1, clean with the degreaser. 2, sand second. Sand. Oh, this purpose of sanding is just to scuff up the surface. You do not need to remove the entire lacquer finish that's on that cabinet door. Just scuff it up in circles. Basically, we're looking for the primer to have just a little bit more to grab hold of. Perfect. That's what the purpose is, not to remove the lacquer finish. So once it is sanded and clean, make sure all the hardware is off. We do not want to paint with hardware on, and now we're ready to prime. Now, even when you go to paint stores, sometimes the people behind the counter don't know what primer is the best primer for painting kitchen cabinets. They'll just give you a latex primer or oil primer, and it doesn't matter which one they give you, it's not the best choice. The best primer to use is a shellac based primer. I don't care which brand you use, whether it's Zinsser or Bins, there's plenty out there. It's just the fact that it's a shellac, and shellac fuses with the lacquer finish. So it's not bonding to it, it's actually fusing with it. So it can't come out. It becomes one with the lacquer. And it dries great, which is super cool, but it can be difficult to work with because it dries so quickly. When you apply the shellac primer on the base cabinets, on the shelves, you're going to want to use a brush and a roller. It's very hard to brush big, wide, flat surfaces. So roll the big, flat surfaces and brush the edges, and you'll be fine. I think you'll be pleasantly pleased how a shellac primer dries. It's very smooth, especially if you go over with some 240 or higher grit sandpaper. However, there is a downside to the shellac primer, and that is it has a very pungent odor. And if you're working in an office, this might not work for you. This shellac primer won't be a good fit for you. If there's someone who's pregnant or any kind of health reasons, shellac primer might not be the best product to use. Instead, a backup second, a distant second in my opinion, would be a latex primer, Extreme Bond or Sticks. It'll grab, it's not going to have any problem grabbing and holding onto the cabinetry, but it doesn't have nearly as smooth as a finish as the shellac primer does. Top coat, the best kitchen cabinet paint. Now I have videos on the best kitchen cabinet paint, but what I don't want you to do is just use any premium grade paint. Yes, they self-level pretty good. Yes, they're pretty durable, but can they hold and withstand the oils that are going to get transferred from your itty bitty fingers onto the top of the paint? They're going to soak through the layers of paint, and they are going to scratch off in between the top coats and the shellac primer. So we need to make sure that we have something that prevents those oils from penetrating through the top coats of the cabinet grade paint. And that would be any one of these 3 paints works very well and is very durable. Advance by Benjamin Moore, Command by Benjamin Moore, and Pittsburgh Ultralast. These, I have tested these for over a year. I put oils on top of cabinets and just do a little scratch test, and these have held up. The other ones that about 10 other ones have not. If you would like to see that full list, you can Google what is the best kitchen cabinet paint, part 1 and part 2. Finally, the last big mistake and thing that you don't want to do when you paint kitchen cabinets is roll them and leave it at just roll. Even the guy at the store might say, you can use a foam roller, it doesn't leave any nap. It does. It does. I've tested everybody's paint with a foam roller and it leaves a little bit of texture. Not as much as a ½ inch nap, but it does leave a texture. If you do want to roll the cabinets, that's perfectly fine, but you want to go over it with a brush before it even starts to set up when it's very wet. So that means you gotta, here's what we do. We add a little bit of latex conditioner to the paint. It's an additive, just a few ounces, mix it into the paint. It doesn't hurt the coverage. It slows down the drying time, which means that the paint's going to self-level even more. It gives you more workability time, which is fantastic. And it also makes it just easier to work with, period. It's a great product. It costs about 10 bucks. Add that to your cabinet paint and go ahead and roll it, but go over it with a brush. This would be in lieu of spraying. If you're a painting contractor and you know how to spray, then just go ahead and spray it on, and you don't need a latex conditioner. If you've never sprayed before, spraying kitchen cabinets is not the time to figure out how to learn how to spray kitchen cabinets. If you want to learn how to spray, start outside on your fence, on your deck, your foundation. Don't start on your kitchen cabinets. Just brush and roll. With these cabinet grade paints that I recommend it with some Floetrol or some latex conditioner in there, you're going to see that it is really, really very close to if they were sprayed. Not quite, but very close. I hope these tips helped. A lot of information in a short package. That's the way I kind of like to try to do it, so you're not rambling on too much. And if you like this, give us a like, subscribe. We always got more stuff coming out. And send us your pictures. I'd love to see your kitchen cabinets to David@KlappenbergerandSon.com. Thanks so much, and see you on the next one.